warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, I will be giving an overview about what is an economic system. So, what is an economic system? It is a system whereby the government or societies organize and distribute available resources, giving products and services across a region or a country. So, economic systems regulate the factors of production, including land, capital, labor, and physical resources. An economic system encompasses many institutions, agencies, entities, decision making processes, and patterns of consumption that comprise the economic structure of a given community. So, what are the fundamentals of an economic system? So, firstly, is what to produce. We have to decide on what kind of items that we should produce in how much quantities as well. Second, how to produce. We must think about the amount of capital needed for the machinery that is required for us to produce the items that we want, or the place that we want to produce, whether it's to rent a factory or whatsoever. And thirdly, who receives the product output. Here we are mainly talking about the potential customers. Types of economic systems. In general, there are so many types of economic systems, but in this video, we will be focusing on socio-economic development, comparing between the Islamic economic system and the capitalist economic systems, which will be explained in detail further in the video.
Assalamualaikum. In order to better understand the study, we must first acknowledge the definitions of socio-economic, the Islamic economy, and the capitalist economy. Firstly, socio-economic development is a branch of economics and social science that focuses on the relationship between social activity and economics in society. An essential aim of socio-economic development is to bring about a sustainable change in the well-being of individuals, groups, households, communities, and societies at large. It implies a sustained improvement in the economic standard of living of a country's population, typically achieved by raising its physical and human capital stock and thereby developing its technology. Secondly, Islamic economy is the knowledge and application of Shariah's injunctions and rules that prevent injustice in the acquisition of disposal of material resources in order to satisfy human beings and allow them to fulfill their obligations towards Allah and the society. And the third, capitalism or the capitalist economy is referred to as the economic system in which the factors of production such as capital goods, labor, natural resources, and entrepreneurship are owned and governed by the private enterprise. The capitalist economic system is characterized by free markets and lack of government interference in the economy. In fact, a capitalist economy will involve some government intervention, mainly in the protection of private property.
Now, I would like to continue with Islamic and capitalistic economic system. Many benefits were found in Islamic economic system. First of all, the implementation of Islamic economic system will reduce the income disparity in a particular country. Islam does not prohibit people from accumulating wealth, yet Islam promotes awareness, shared responsibility, and hardships that have been experienced by the poor. For example, paying zakat. Zakat is one of Arkanul Islam. There are several verses in Al-Quran that shows the obligation of a Muslim to pay zakat. For example, in Surah At-Tawbah, verse 103. Implementation of Islamic principles in financial markets can result in investment that can benefit all people at all points of wealth spectrum. Next, Islamic economic system will be able to invite more people to join the markets as it will benefit all people regardless their nationality, religion, and etc. The rich and the poor will be given same opportunity to enter the business and gain the benefit from the business. Furthermore, the Islamic economic system are also practice transparency and simplicity. Plus, this economic system will reduce the consequences of harmful product and practices. Because law of Sharia forbids any transaction that related to harmful activities, such as transaction that related to riba that can cause harm towards people and environment. On the other hand, the capitalism also have their own advantages. The allocation of resources in capitalism are efficient, whereas the firm will only produce goods and services that are preferred by the customer. Moreover, the capitalism have a dynamic efficiency where the firm need to keep up to date with the changes of customers' preference, or else the business will fail. Plus, capitalistic economic system also have a creative destruction. For instance, the business who fail to fulfill the customer's preference will be outdated and inefficient, and they will leave the economy. This destruction will allow the resources to shift into a new, more innovative and efficient industries. Last but not least, capitalism will be able to raise the living standards of the citizens. For example, since China and other countries that have implemented capitalistic economic system, their economic have increased, as well as increased the living standards of citizens and decreased the level of poverty in the country.
Capitalist economy and Islamic economy. So, I will explain about the disadvantages of the capitalist economic system and also disadvantages of the Islamic economic system. The first is the capitalist economic system. The first disadvantages is it allows humans to gain money through immoral practice and cause imbalance in the society. This is because the capitalist economic system did not control by any divine injunctions. Next is profit gains uncontrollable because this method creates monopolies which paralyze the market force and stop their natural operation. So the capitalist economic system, which based on the market force, it will stop the natural process of the demand and supply because the market force can only function in the free competition and not in the monopolies. Next, it will give a negative externalities such as pollution. This is because the pollution issue did not, because people will ignore the pollution issue because they are too busy to gain profit because the market being profit driven. And to solve this problem, the money and profit supply in the economy need to be reduced, and it will affect most of the smaller firms rather than the big firms that have been able to gain monopolies within market development. And the last one is the exploitation for the labor and cause a revolt and strike within the market. So it will give negative effect to the economy and stop the production in the economy. Next is the Islamic economic system. The first is the cost issue also occurs sometimes because documentation is tailor-made for the transactions offered, and there was more compliance in the Islamic finance transactions. And next is some of the Islamic products also may not be suitable or adaptable to the international financial rules, and there was also a limit in trading of sukuk products. And next is the decrease in the tax rate or tax benefit because of the interest is not allowed in Islam and cause some of Islamic transactions hard to recognize it as a debt. The Sharia explanation of innovative product also sometimes did not agree upon, such as some of the murabahah, which did not focus on economic conditions but focus on the interest rate.
The basic difference between a capitalist economy and Islamic economy is motivation. Capitalist economies recognize the profit motive without any restrictions applicable. Meanwhile, Islamic economy recognize through the profit motive means that halal. Man is motivated to work to pursue economic activities because he is entrusted by Allah Subhanahu wa Taala as the Khalifah on this earth and to obey the will of Allah. Unlike capitalism, where the primary motivating factor is more materialistic in nature and act in their own self-interest, Islam equally respects both the contribution of labor and capital, which must involve risks, to obtain a lawful reward. In conclusion, the profit motive in socio-economic development that follows Islamic economy will lower the economic risk in a society. Meanwhile, the capitalist economy does not care about society relations. It is also related with SDG number 8, which is decent work and economic growth. Capitalist economy requires a central bank and a conventional keeping money framework based on usury and man-made common law. The business competition in this economy is free and childbirth monopoly. In contrast, Islamic economy is based on Sharia, which is divine. Competition in the business is controlled by the Sharia. It is clear that Islamic economy focuses on participation and trust in socio-economic development. It is because they run their business based on Sharia law that obviously avoids usury. Emphasis should be on distribution involving Islamic partnerships based on profit share. Lastly, the difference is decision making. For capitalist economy, each choice is made by buyers and dealers through markets. Here, it is related to governance and civil society and socio-economic development. A capitalist looks for the most extreme return for his capital and keeps all things auxiliary to it. Unlike Islamic economy, the government has the right to intervene and monitor the market via al-Hisbah, but Islam gives priority to the role of individual decision making, which is also tied to the concept of accountability. It is linked to Goal 12 in Sustainable Development Goals, which is responsible consumption and production.
Next, we will talk about the difference between Islamic economic system and capitalist economic system in terms of concept of scarcity. In Islamic economic system, resources are considered limited. Exploitation is allowed if it is done moderately. On the other hand, capitalist economic system considered resources as unlimited. This have caused them to exploit resources excessively to maximize the profit. Next, the theory of ownership is viewed differently between Islamic economic system and capitalistic economic system. In Islamic economic system, the resources are owned by Allah, and humans as the vicegerents have to manage the resources properly so that future generation can enjoy them. While on the other hand, capitalistic economic system believe that resources are owned by private firms. These have caused the firms to hold excessive powers and may cause them to do injustices. In terms of socio-economic development, the capitalists have stated that resources are infinite and is owned by the private firms. These have caused the act of exploitation is done excessively, which have caused harm to the environment and the society. On the other hand, the Islamic economic system considered resources as finite and is owned by Allah. So the act of exploitation is done moderately because they know that they do not own the resources, so they have to perform the proper way of consumption. This will eventually not cause harm to the environment and the society. The concept of scarcity and the theory of ownership is closely related to the Sustainable Development Goals, specifically Goal 13, Climate Action. If people are to believe that resources are owned by Allah and not their own, and manage the resources properly, the problems such as climate changes, extinctions, and global warming will not occur. For example, the act of deforestation. The act of deforestation are allowed if it is done moderately, but if it is done excessively, it will bring harm to the environment as it will cause global warming, which in the long term will cause climate changes.